We're on. Let's go.
Okay, there we go. It's
All
all
right.
yours.
It's all mine. Well, today is the Poh-tay-toh and SEO conversation that we're going to have, everybody. And one of the things that I think we'll bring to the conversation, at least I will be, is a cup of green blueberry tea, because there's so much to cover. Like we talk about on a regular basis, we pick out topics that are really big. Scott, tell everybody why you like this topic in terms of our potato, and SEO.
Either. Because I'm reading a book about semantic SEO, because the guy who wrote the book happens to have been doing a lot of Hangouts, and I have been corresponding with him, and it's great. So I'm all semantic search 24 hours a day now, and we'll talk about it more once we get into the serious part of the program. But right now, we got to figure out about some technology. We thought we got it down just fine, and then
I'm following your lead today.
oh, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. We're both in trouble then. Okay, I'm going to try and go to the open. Wish me luck.
Look.
That was it. Go for it, Jess.
All right. So, yeah, this is a really cool topic. It's so much fun. And when we're thinking about search, and we're thinking about SEO, and we're thinking about keywords, and we're thinking about all of the things that people say you've got to do just right and figure out so that you have the best search engine placement, and then you have all these companies that say, we will help you get the search engine placement and your first page rankings and this, that, and the otherwise. Every single one of those is very valid, and those people do a very good job at what they do. You may be able to do a lot on your own and be empowered to take advantage of some of that in a way that you didn't even know possible. And so my objective for this is to make it more in reach and make it more something that you are excited to do and realize that you can do on your own. What about you, Scott?
If you put in the keywords and if they matched up enough, then your web page would appear at the top of Google search. And they've changed it entirely. It was gamed so that you could not have valuable content, but you could just have someone who knew how to do the tricks of the trade. And so Google got tired with a cat and mouse approach, and they said, we're going to try something different. We're in transition right now, and in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be more difficult to game the system. You'll still be able to do it. It's just going to be so much more work to game the system. You might as well just do it the way you're supposed to, which is, this is a quiz. What's the right way to do SEO nowadays, Jess?
It is all through our content. I'm not going to spell it. I was going to say that. Let me say it again. Content.
I think we even have a video insert that can tell us a little about that. So if you'll have a little bit of patience, let me set it up and we can go to it.
How is semantic search different than what I was just talking about, where we start out with looking for keywords and we put it in our titles and we put it in these specific areas? Is that something you can help us?
Absolutely. Okay, and I'm so glad you asked that question, because some search engine optimization has changed radically in the semantic web, and it's changed from something which was technical, where you could actually tick all the boxes and bring in your keyword research, do your H1 headers, have articles which are a specific length, do your keyword density, to something which is a lot more social stroke marketing orientated. And even more so, if you actually go into a business, instead of actually being a bolt-on technical person who's going to do a few things and go away, now you have to find a way to integrate yourself fully into what the business does, because if you don't do that, you can't actually project it. Why? Because the web has changed. Search has changed from the Boolean search, which was essentially a statistical text analysis method, which allowed us to find out all the elements that made it work and begin to actually work them, to something which is a lot more, or has the kind of understanding that you and I as a person have. And that's what's so difficult. So if you were to be sort of hired tomorrow by a business to project their content on the web, you'd have to basically understand fully what they are, what their values are, what's the thing that makes them unique, what their unique voice is, and how they should actually contact themselves in social web, and then work with them to help them project that. It's a much more difficult, much more nuanced task. And it also, to my mind, separates the true marketers who get it and get about value and how they need to project these things from the guys who, they read a book and they think they know 10 technical things and they're going to apply them.
So here's what I took away from that. We talk about social online and all the things that we need to do with social. I almost think we should put social in front of the stuff that we do. We do social grocery shopping. We do social car washing. We do social letter writing or phone calls. And I think, tell me what you think about that, Scott, because one of the things that I really think is we're trying to figure out how to be real life online and have that power of engagement, and we're calling it social media, but is that term now overused in the way that this search actually helps us? And that's kind of my thought at the moment.
At one time, people used to congregate in church, and then there was the commons, so they'd go to the commons and they would socialize there. Families were big, so you'd have not the nuclear family, but 30 or 40 people. So now with smartphones and with kids growing up, and all of this digital stuff is second nature to them. You're talking about social, but social is digital. Social is very complex, and it's in person, and it's online, and who knows how else it's going to be.
I think you bring home the point very well, that it's not that it's a separate thing that we have to be social at. It's actually an integrated part of who we are becoming as a society.
Ray Heinz was talking about the telephone. I mean, we don't talk about the telephone anymore. It is something that has just gone into the landscape, and it's just part of who we are because it's so familiar. It's like a tree in a forest. We all very easily flow in and out of being social, and now there are these strangers out there called businesses. You and I are all about small business, individuals and small businesses, freelancers, real folks. We want to be able to play. We want to be able to participate as well. But the rules have changed. It used to be that we could buy something on the local radio station, or there could be something on a flyer or whatnot. We'd go into the yellow pages, and that's how we would be able to communicate. Now we have to join this society, this culture, and you've got friends and family and people who are trusted, and they have authority, and they've got veracity and legitimacy and all of those sorts of things, right? And as a small business person, how do I break into that? Now I have to earn your respect. I have to come to the table and say, here I am, this is who I really am, and it's not fake, and I'm not just marketing to you. You're going to have to need the services I provide, either from me or someone else, but this is the reason why you might want to consider me, because, and then you list them out. I'm coming around to the idea that it's going to take 6 months before anyone who just is starting off will be able to gain the sort of community and trust so that they're even getting down the sales funnel to the point of even making the suggestion of the ask, just because you have to break into that social component now. The rules are changed. What do you think?
I think that to add to that is, as each generation, their BS meter gets a lot sharper, becomes a lot more, becomes a lot more honed, and that the typical sales pitches that worked at one point in time don't work today. And so when you talk about 6 months, it could be for any part of the business. It could be being online. It could be creating content. It could be creating opportunities online to meet people in real life. And build that credibility and awareness, because you have to have a library of stuff. You have to be consistent, and you have to be in the space. Putting up a page or having a Yelp or having, 5-star ratings for your service on your local version of Angie's List, for example, is all great. But if you never do anything else with it except for have those things, there's such an opportunity that is being missed in how you bring it all back and tie that together and reach even more people. The more you try to reach everybody, the less successful you'll be, because I can walk into a room and say, "Hi, I'm Jess," and one person might hear me. Or I can walk through the room and stop, and I can shake your hand, and I'll put my hand on your shoulder. If I have met you before I'll give you a great big hug, and I will meet more people going through that room, and I will have those connections to take with me in a totally different way. So, are you going to drive by market? Maybe that's. Or are you going to go say hi and be a wallflower? Whichever visual you like better, I guess. Neither one of those work anymore.
I mean, you're coming up with so many great analogies that some of them I've never heard of. You're great.
Probably
I had never heard. The BS meter. Can you say that on TV? I guess we can get away with it. Yeah, you're so right, and you're also it's anti-intuitive. It's almost as if this thing called the internet or social media or whatnot, it absolutely erases geographic barriers. We are miles and miles and miles apart, but it doesn't matter. It used to matter. It used to be I'd have to get on a horse and it would be a half a day before I'd be able to talk to you.
Right.
That type of thing. What I took from what you just said is that there are so many barriers that are removed. You can't just address all those people out there. I've got to address you personally. And if I don't do that, it might be a double cross. You might have the best service in the world. You might be the nicest person. The way that the internet works is if you're not engaging, if you're not out there, then you're going to be anonymous. So it forces you. I mean, even if you don't want to, you have to go out there and you have to put yourself out and you have to try and sell yourself. Because if you don't, then you're going to be invisible. And if you're invisible, you're going to be irrelevant. And if you're irrelevant, you're going to be out of business.
There are two stages, Scott, that we can talk about in relationship to semantic search and kind of bring home all of the ideas that you're articulating. And those are from the book, the semantic search book that you're reading. The first is the gatekeeper, and the second is the connector. To be a gatekeeper and have people trust you, you've got to have connected with them. And those people know when they come to you, they're going to get information they need that they find relevant about whatever the topic is that you are providing information to them on. They know you're their trusted source. And all that content doesn't come just from you. It comes from you and all the people you're connected to. So with that, if you can be a gatekeeper, but you can also be a connector, because you have all of those other people out there that you're connected to, and you're looking for additional information to bring value to the people that look to you for your service.
I was just trying to think in real life, who are the gatekeepers and who are the connectors? And I was thinking of a preacher. Now, the preacher is kind of the gatekeeper, right? So who would be the connector?
Somebody who's going to see a lot of other people that you might not normally be connected to, but you can find out other things about them.
So it would be your hairdresser.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And for guys, it would be who?
Your mechanic.
Mechanic. Sure. No. Us guys, we communicate entirely differently. But
you're right. Well,
I think we should go in for another video insert. I think David and Ronnie might have something to say about this.
We're talking about trust, authority, reputation. These are attributes of the semantic web. they're transferable across the entire web now, which in the past they weren't. I mean, if you were somebody in Facebook, for instance, in the past, you stayed in Facebook. You came out of Facebook, nobody knew you. Now with semantic search, Google actually knows where your authority comes from. It knows what kind of activities you have. It knows how many followers you have in Twitter and what your Twitter activity is like. It totally knows what you do in Google+, which is why it's so central to the semantic web. So our online activity is essentially as reputational and authority driven as it is in the offline world. I mean, in offline you interact with your neighbor in a certain way because he figures in a certain position in your offline universe. You interact with your boss entirely differently because he figures in an entirely different way in your offline universe. We get online now, and the mechanism finally is in place for us to do the same thing. So now, if you're important to me, for instance, I'm going to be very good to you because I think, okay, Ronnie Binns is important. I'm going to work very well with him because, you know, it's important for both of us. If you're not important to me, which you are, then I can totally discount what you say and say, oh, he doesn't, you know, he doesn't matter to me.
So if we were to come back and leave a couple of tips, that's okay. I'm thinking about our time here. If we were to talk about a couple of tips that we could allow people to take away from this, that would be, you've got to enhance your existing great content by using all the same mechanisms, having great titles, being catchy, using the keywords. All of those things are really important. And then if you're doing all of that well and you're talking to your target audience, then you will have something that will bring you value in this new semantic search.
Should we go to our +2 takeaway? Or
let's do it, yeah.
Really? We've got time? All right.
Let's do it. We have just enough time to do that and wrap up. So, this +2 takeaway is all about shaping expectations. And you'll have to excuse me for 1 second. I think you might hear Bailey in the background. Let me let my Bailey, my dog, out. I'll be right back.
Okay, go for it.
I'm ready to go. I think I can share my screen.
Well, why don't you share your screen?
Let's
because I don't have it in my chat.
Here we go.
So.
Okay. So you can see my screen now?
Absolutely. This is great.
All right, we're ready to go. So we're going to just jump right in. Step 1, right? So what are we thinking about? We're thinking about how do we use content to enhance our online presence, and how do we use content to really amplify the marketing mix that we're using to have a consistent message. So we need to know what motivates the people that we're targeting. And like we were talking about earlier, we're not the one person in the town that might be the jack of all trades for a community of 50 or 100 or 200 people. We are part of a community of billions of people, so we can be slightly more specialized in our messaging to break through the barrier and the noise and provide content that actually helps people get past people's BS meter. And then step 2, that specific information really has to provide value. What are the motivations? Which, by the way, they don't have to be fear anymore. A lot of people think the best way to market is to, solve a problem or remedy some fear. Not anymore. There's so many other ways to do that. Then we've got to show. We have to show how the product helps them. We have to talk about it. We have to be ready and open and willing to have conversations. We also need to know, we also can't just put stuff up on a website anymore. We have to go through each topic, and our website is crafted in such a way that we're actually putting stuff on a website, but we're actually giving people the path to follow through our website for the information that they want for the problem that we're trying to solve for them, which means on a regular basis, and this presentation says quarterly, look at each of those predefined, very calculated paths of information that take people through wherever you're at. And I was saying website. This could expand out to your entire internet presence. How they get to you and how you get them through your sale. The sales cycle and into your sales cycle so that you are constantly making sure that things are current and up to date for you and the people that you are trying to reach. And that is the overview of the 5 steps to shape expectations. So if I quit sharing my screen, I think I might come back.
Right. Yeah, I've had fun tonight. Always so pleasing to talk to you and to get your perspective.
You too, Scott.
It's been nice.
We really bounce ideas off of each other, and I'm like, wow, we can get bigger and bigger.
Wait until we get guests. It's going to ruin everything.
Oh, man, I tell you what, I don't think so at all. I think it'll just get bigger. We might just have to make our show just a little longer. Thank you very much, Scott. I do enjoy it.
And we'll
Not like you can tell or anything. I'll have to work on that.
We're sipping on each other's lines, too, aren't we? We'll see everyone again next week, and we'll come up with a brand new topic, and we'll research it and be as enthusiastic next week as we are this week.
Thanks so much for your time tonight, Scott. It was awesome. Thanks, everybody viewing. Talk to you soon.